Today we're going to be talking about how to make an ex chase you. And believe it or not, there is one simple rule that you need to follow. And if you follow this rule, just about any ex will find themselves wanting you back. But of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should be taking them back, or if you should be wasting your time trying to salvage a situation that just doesn't look great. So if you're sitting there and wondering, wait, what are my chances of winning an ex back? I've got great news for you. On my website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, I put together a special quiz designed to answer this question. All you have to do if you want to take the quiz is simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on it. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can answer the questions and get an idea of the approximate chances you have of winning your ex back. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get to it. Now, at first glance, having me sit here and tell you, yeah, there's only one simple rule that you need to follow to get your ex to chase you sounds a little too good to be true, doesn't it? And I'm going to level with you. I've been doing this for roughly around 7, maybe 8 years now. And one consistency that I've seen among the women who end up getting their exes back, or women who end up making their exes chase them, is this really interesting pattern. It's this idea of the fear of missing out syndrome. So essentially, the number one thing that you need to be concerning yourself with if you want to make an ex chase you is creating an environment where your ex feels like he will miss out on the opportune future together with you. Now, how do you do this? Well, there's actually 3 tips that I'm going to give you right here, right now, to help you cultivate that environment. Tip number 1, the Daydream Effect. Now, it's often said that absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Well, the interesting thing is that if you really distill that definition down, you really take a look at it, there are 2 main components that you need to take into account. Number 1 is the fact that you and the person of your, or object of your desire, are not together. After all, absence makes the heart grow fonder. You guys are apart. Now, when you're apart, what happens? Well, you'll start to notice that maybe if you're really in love with that person, you start to daydream of what your time can be like together. Now, there are many different forms of daydream. Some can be as simple as, hey, maybe I'll daydream about what it's like to go on a date with her. And then others can be sexually charged. They daydream about having sex with you. So what is the ideal daydream that you should be cultivating within your ex, and how do you do that? Well, in my experience, it all boils down to one thing: making sure that they have incredible experiences when they actually spend time together with you, and then ripping that experience out by leaving. That's pretty much the only way that you can cultivate these kind of daydreams. So in effect, there are 2 things that you need to do to create the daydream, or raise the chances that your ex will have these kind of daydreams about you. Number 1 is when you do spend time with them, make sure they're having an amazing time. Have a lot of first experiences together. Do something exciting that will create adrenaline or get his oxytocin up. The second thing that you need to do is not be around them. You need to give them time to actually have these daydreams. Tip number 2, alternatives. So tip number 1 with the fear of missing out syndrome really revolved around the internal processes that goes on in your ex's brain, getting him to daydream. Tip number 2 is going to be something a little bit more physically charged, specifically alternatives. There's a couple of aspects that go into making an ex feel like they're missing out on the opportunity of a lifetime. Obviously, daydreams help cultivate those kind of feelings, but second, and probably the most powerful way, is to have him see you with another alternative. Now, that may sound a little odd to you, but think of it like this. Some of the biggest mistakes that I see women making when they're trying this fear of missing out process, and specifically looking at alternatives, is they're too available for their exes. They want their exes back so much, their ex can kind of pick up on those vibes. Now, the trick here is with alternatives, you need to show your ex that you're not going to be sticking around or waiting around for him forever. There are other alternatives. There are other men out there that can find you attractive, meaning you can can potentially be in the future unavailable. Of course, this is something that I always recommend that you scale back a little bit. There's a difference between posting pictures online with you basically making out with another guy and just simply taking a selfie with another guy. There's a difference there. It doesn't really take much to create this unavailable aspect that you need to have created so your ex feels like he can miss out on a potential relationship with you in the future. So make sure you understand that less is more when it comes to this kind of jealousy. Tip number 3, leave him wanting more. Part of the fun of trying to get an ex back is trying to see how you can get your ex addicted to you. That's a little bit what we talked about with tip 1, that daydream effect, making your ex daydream about you when you're not around. That means he carries you with him throughout his day. He's thinking about you, but how do you do that? How can you really psychologically get in his head? Well, that's where you're going to use something called the Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect is pretty simple. It simply states that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. So how does this connect with the leaving him wanting more? Well, there's a little bit of a snowball effect that needs to occur in order for him to be left wanting more, but there's an interesting way that you can go about it. Let's imagine that you're having a conversation and the conversation is extremely appealing to him. And then in the middle of the conversation, you suddenly have to go. Just as it was about to get to the good part. He's left wanting more. He's going to be constantly thinking about you, and this can even play into that daydream effect I was talking about with tip 1. Now, in the end, if you structure your whole game plan around 30 different strategies to win an ex back, you'll find that you're not going to be very successful. In fact, when I'm dealing with clients, I find that it's often best to simplify things down to its easiest point. And here, if you're looking to make an ex chase you, it's important to remember that there's only really one thing that you need to do. You need to create an environment where he feels like he's going to miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime. Hey, thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. But before you go, I have one important thing to tell you. If you haven't already and you're really interested in winning your ex back, my best recommendation is for you to actually take my Ex Recovery Chances quiz. If you want to take the quiz, all you have to do is simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on that link. It will take you to the quiz where you can get an approximate idea of what your chances are with winning your ex back. Secondly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and click that bell notification. Doing so will give you updates anytime I come out with a new video or respond to one of your comments, because I know a lot of you really like to comment in the comment section in these YouTube videos. I'll see you guys on the other side.